Tanjung Perak Harbor was a hive of activity at all hours. Workers loaded and unloaded crates, ships came and went, and the air carried the mingling scents of saltwater and diesel fuel. Yet beneath the bustling exterior, whispers of strange occurrences at the harbor had been circulating among the locals for decades. I never gave much thought to the rumors. As a freelance journalist looking for a good story, I often chased urban legends, but they rarely amounted to more than exaggerated tales. When I heard about the mysterious disappearances at Tanjung Perak, I was intrigued but skeptical. The harbor workers spoke of shadowy figures seen after sunset, strange sounds echoing from the water, and an abandoned cargo ship that appeared and disappeared without explanation. It was late October when I decided to investigate. The air was thick with humidity that night, the faint glow of the harbor lights reflecting off the water. I made my way past the busy docks, where workers shouted orders and forklifts rumbled by. Further away in the quieter parts of the harbor, I could hear the lapping of waves against the pilings and the occasional squawk of a seagull. My destination was the farthest berth, a derelict pier long since abandoned. According to the workers, this was where the ghost ship often appeared. They called it Kapal Jelap, the dark ship. I set up my camera and recorder, noting the eerie stillness of the area. The pier was rotting in places, the wood creaking under my weight. The smell of decay mingled with the salty breeze, making my stomach churn. Hours passed and the harbor grew silent. It was nearing midnight when I first heard the sound, a low, mournful horn echoing across the water. At first I thought it was just another ship signaling its arrival. But as I scanned the horizon, I realized the sound wasn't coming from the main channel. It was closer, somewhere near the abandoned pier. The fog rolled in thick and fast, shrouding the area in a ghostly haze. The air grew colder, and the water beneath the pier seemed to darken unnaturally. Then I saw it, a massive silhouette emerging from the mist. It was a ship, but not like any I'd seen before. Its hull was covered in barnacles and rust, and its sails, though tattered, were eerily pristine. The name painted on the side was barely legible, but I could make out the word Lot Lane, Other Sea. I should have run, but curiosity anchored me in place. The ship docked silently, its gangplank lowering with a slow, groaning creak. No one emerged, but I felt a presence, a suffocating heaviness that made my skin crawl. Against all logic, I stepped onto the gangplank and ascended. The air grew colder with each step, and the sounds of the harbor faded until only the lapping of water remained. The deck was empty, the wood slick with algae. Ropes hung loosely, swaying as though moved by unseen hands. I raised my flashlight, the beam cutting through the thick mist. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. The only response was a distant whisper, soft and unintelligible, like the echo of a forgotten conversation. The interior of the ship was worse. The corridors were narrow, the air damp and foul. The walls seemed to close in as I moved deeper, my footsteps echoing unnaturally. Rusted chains hung from the ceiling, clinking faintly as if disturbed by a breeze that didn't exist. I found the cargo hold first. Crates stacked haphazardly filled the space, their labels faded or written in languages I couldn't recognize. One crate was partially open, revealing its contents, old, waterlogged journals and photographs. The faces in the photos were blurred, their eyes scratched out. A noise behind me made me freeze. It was faint at first, a rhythmic tapping like someone walking barefoot across the deck. I turned, my flashlight flickering. A figure stood at the far end of the hold. It was tall and gaunt, its face obscured by a hood. Its hands were skeletal, dripping with water that pooled on the floor. I backed away slowly, my heart pounding. The figure didn't move, but the air grew colder. Whispers filled the room, overlapping and growing louder until they became deafening. I ran. The corridors twisted unnaturally as I tried to find my way back to the deck. Every turn seemed to lead me deeper into the ship, the walls oozing brackish water. Doors slammed shut behind me and shadows danced just out of reach. The whispers followed, growing closer, their words now clear. "Join us, you belong to the sea?" I burst onto the deck, gasping for air. The gangplank was gone, the pier a distant memory. The ship was adrift, surrounded by an endless expanse of black water. The figure was there, standing at the helm. It raised a hand, pointing at me. The whispers became a roar, the air vibrating with their intensity. I don't remember jumping, but I found myself in the freezing water, thrashing as the ship loomed overhead. When I surfaced, the harbor lights were visible in the distance. The lot lane was gone, swallowed by the mist. I crawled onto the pier, shivering and gasping. My camera and recorder were gone, lost to the depths. Only the photographs remained, waterlogged and smeared with salt. The faces in them were no longer scratched out. They were screaming. To this day, I avoid Tanjung Perak harbor. But sometimes, late at night, I hear the mournful horn echoing across the water. And I know the Kapal Jelap is still out there, waiting for its next passenger.